This is the plaintiff, Evan Charter. He says the defendant's tenants ruined his fence, and he refuses to do anything about it. The guy's been giving him the runaround for months. He just wants his fence repaired and has no other choice but to sue him here and now in court for the $800 he's owed. This is the defendant, Dr. William Belfar. He says his tenant had 8 kids and she was white and her boyfriend Hispanic. And people in the neighborhood didn't like this. Bottom line, he should be suing the people who did the damage, not him. Just because he's a doctor and is perceived to have money, he's accused of having destructive tenants.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
And welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says the defendant's tenants trashed his fence and he wants some serious jack and stat. But the defendant says the plaintiff is going after him because he's a doctor. It's the case of Dr. Heal My Fence.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Evan Charter, you are suing Dr. William Belfar, who owns a property next to where you own or rent?
I own it, yeah.
You own it, okay. For $800 in damage to the fence that you say his tenants did to your fence, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what happened?
We had been living in the house about a year or so, and it had been vacant for maybe 8 months,
What
9
had been
months.
vacant?
The house that
His
Mr.
house.
Belfar owns, yeah. And then come home from work one day, and we got neighbors. And so I said, all right, you know, it's no big deal. We got neighbors. And,
What do you mean, no big deal? You don't have a right to not have
well,
neighbors.
no, you know
yeah.
what I mean. But I
It
mean, it
happens
was
to
just a
the best of
surprise.
us, right?
They moved in, you know, like overnight. You know what I mean? It wasn't like we had seen them there. It was overnight. So I'm taking my dog out, and they did have a bunch of kids. They had at least 9 or 10 kids.
Okay.
So, you know, I wanted to make sure my dog was all right and make sure none of the kids, you know, ran into the yard with the dog. So I put up a fence, you know, in my whole yard. And so like I said, they were there about 6 or 8 months. And I mean, we had a few issues with them. It was more with them, you know, they had a lot of trash and constantly trash blowing in our yard. And, you know, we had to go over there and it was constantly, you know, hey, can you guys just pick up your trash? It's blowing into our yard, you know, can you guys take care of this? And I mean, it was only a 3-bedroom house and they probably had 15 people living there, more than 15 people. So I was like, I don't know where they're all staying, but if you could just keep your trash out of our yard, I mean, I don't care about what else you do. You know, it's your house. Do whatever you want. And
Did you get along with them or you didn't get along with them?
well, it wasn't really even any relationship. It wasn't bad, wasn't good. You know,
Well,
like
if you
I
have
said,
to constantly go over there and tell them to keep the trash in their own yard, that's sort of not good.
right. But other than that, like I said, they weren't problems. You know, they had a lot of kids, but the kids for the most part were good. You know, they said, hey, they all had bikes. You know, they had 1 million bikes. I said, just stay off my yard, my lawn in the front, and you know that's fine. And they were good about that. So after that, you know. They had been there about, like I said, 6 or 8 months, and me and my wife went on vacation. When we got back, we found out that they had been evicted. So, you know, I just go to the yard, you know, just to check my fence, check everything out, you know, basically see the house.
You go
and
into
everything.
his yard.
Right, into the other side, because that's where my fence was. And I look and I see these big mounds of dirt, you know, running down the whole length of the fence.
Your fence is on your yard.
Yes, it's on my yard, but at the back side of the fence, it abuts
Faces
their yard.
their yard.
Yes.
So, okay.
So, you know, I'm looking, I go, well, what is this? I didn't even realize it was over there.
Because what was over there?
These mounds of dirt, and I actually have pictures of them.
Okay.
These are the mounds of dirt and also the damage that was done to the fence after I removed some of the dirt that was piled. Because, I mean, some of these spots were piled almost 2 feet high against the fence.
Do you have a picture of them piled 2 feet high?
Yeah, on there you can see the piles of them.
Okay, but what I'm not understanding is how do these mounds get there? Like, what's the point of the mounds?
I have no idea. I don't know if they were using them for bike jumps.
Yeah, but they're so small, they can't be bike jumps.
I have no idea what they were doing with them.
And they weren't there when you put up the fence?
Well, no, obviously I wouldn't have just left them like that when we put it up.
That one's pretty high.
And I said it stretched about maybe 30.
That one might be for a bike to
It
play
stretched
around.
about 30 feet, and some of them had logs, you know, like chunks of logs underneath it, and then they were piled with the dirt on top. So that's why I thought maybe they
So
were.
you think it was done deliberately in order to jump?
Yeah, I'm sure it was just the kids, you know, using it
Right.
for the bikes that they were riding in the yard.
Okay, so what's the damage to your fence?
Where the dirt is removed, you can see the fence. It's all black, and the wood is all rotten and soft.
Okay, because that's touching the
Right,
earth.
where the dirt was piled up against it.
Okay, so how do you come up with the figure $800?
Well, first of all, I mean, I put the fence up myself. Me and a couple of friends, we put it up.
Okay.
And when you know, I talked to Mr. Well, do you want me to start from the whole beginning, or I mean,
I thought you had. What do you mean?
Well, okay, this is how it all started. Once I realized the mounds of dirt were there, you know, first thing I did was I contacted Mr. Belfar's property manager, a guy named Sam. I don't know his last name, but I contacted him and I said, hey, look, you know, the tenants that you guys evicted, they put these mounds of dirt up against my fence.
And I guess you had met him before? How'd you know to contact him?
Sam? Yeah, for the trash and stuff like that, you know. Then Sam got fired. At that point, I gave Mr. Belfar's number.
Okay.
And I actually have the first email that I sent them.
Let me see that.
With the pictures. And it doesn't have the price on it yet still because I hadn't gotten an estimate.
Okay.
And now I get to the estimate, I called a few fence companies, and the fence company said, since I put the fence up myself, they wouldn't do the work because it wasn't their product and they couldn't guarantee it. The fence that I used.
But you can find somebody to just fix the ones that need fixing.
So I got an independent contractor.
It's not going to be $800. That's why I'm wondering how you come
I got an independent contractor to come out there, and he says, in order for him to replace it, here's his estimate. He said in order for him to replace it, he's got to remove 6 sections of fence that were damaged, and he has to remove the posts and put up new posts, you know, so he can guarantee his work. And I said, it's a decent, I mean, it's probably about 40 feet of fence, you know, that was damaged by all the dirt.
Let me hear from you. Is it Dr. or Mr. Belfar?
It's Dr. Belfar.
Dr. Belfar, go ahead.
This house was rented out to these tenants back in June. They have 8 kids.
They did have 8 kids?
They had 8 kids.
I thought maybe like there was a bunch of them running around and it looked like more, you know?
No, there was
really
never.
did have 8 kids.
There was never 15 people living there.
Okay.
Throughout the time they were living there, I was getting numerous phone calls from neighbors saying, we don't want these type of people living here. And when I said, what do you mean these type of people? They said, well, they're going to bring down the property values of this neighborhood.
Just stop.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And one time I asked, I mean, what is it? Is it the color of their skin that you have a problem with? And, well, one of the people, I don't even know if it was him. I mean, that was different people. But they're saying, no, we just don't want people like this here.
Oh, people like what? What were they complaining?
Well, they were saying that there was too many of them living there.
Okay.
So what happened was they were there from June till October. What happened in August was the mother said she couldn't pay the rent. She said it was stolen. So, all right, I said, I'll work with you. That's when I started working with her, and I said to Sam, let me take this over. By the way, this is wrong what he said in his complaint. She was never evicted.
Okay.
Okay, she had 8 children there. I was in the house. My son
Was she alone or was there a dad there?
There was a gentleman there who I believe was a dad. I don't know if that was a husband or not. When I came in there, he was lying in bed with pneumonia. And I told her, you better get him to the hospital. So I had a very working relationship with them.
Did you see in your many times that you visited there and had this working relationship, the mounds of dirt in the backyard that were piled up against the...
No, I didn't. In fact, she was landscaping the house. She was taking care of it. She was doing everything. And there wasn't a problem. The only problem was the rent.
Okay.
And she agreed to get another place to live, which she did in October.
Did you ever get to see the pictures of the mounds of dirt piled up against his...
When he emailed them to me.
Right. So, but in the pictures, there is wood rotting from dirt being pushed against it. And what would your defense to that is? I didn't do it. Tell me your defense.
Well, there's a number of defenses. One is I personally didn't do it. They never complained to my tenants about this. According to his complaint, he says he put up the fence in June, and shortly thereafter they put mounds of dirt up.
Right.
So this happened in June, and I'm first hearing about it in late October after they moved out.
When did they move out, by the way?
I think was it mid-October? I think mid-October. Yes.
And you didn't notice it until after they move out.
Right, because it's not our yard.
Right.
The
So
yard
can't
on
you
his
just see
property
it by
is
walking
wide open.
across the street and looking?
No, because the way our houses sit, they're up kind of on a hill.
Okay.
So the driveway goes up, you can't see it.
So you don't know that it was shortly thereafter. You just know that in October you discovered.
Well, I was just assuming that because, like I said, when I took the dirt off the fence, it was rotten. So it must have been there sometime after we put up the fence. And it was only up for, like I said, probably 6 months.
How did it happen so quick?
I couldn't tell you.
What kind of wood did you use?
It was just regular fence that we bought from one of the, like a Home Depot.
What kind of wood?
It was pine. I don't know. It was 1/2-inch pine.
That's it? 1/2-inch pine?
I guess. I don't know.
You use
exactly.
pressure-treated wood?
I don't remember if it was pressure-treated.
I don't think it is. Pressure-treated is extra. And pressure-treated might not rot like that. All right. Court's in recess.
All rise.
So is the landlord responsible for the damage the tenant does to the neighbor's property? What do you think?
I don't believe that the landlord is responsible for his tenants damaging the neighbor's property. I believe the tenants are responsible for their...
The tenants are responsible for their own conduct. You all agree with that?
Yeah, it was the tenants who did it, so it's their
But he has no obligation to lord over the tenants.
It's still the tenants' fault. They're the one who caused the damage.
Okay, going inside the courtroom.
Let me tell you folks a couple of things. First of all, in pondering this back there, these folks lived there a very short amount of time, right? Like 3.5 months. By definition, shortly thereafter they put these mounds because we don't have a lot of months to play with. So I don't know when exactly they put the mounds up there, but sometime in those 3.5 months they put the mounds up there. I am a little stunned that there's that amount of rotting that quickly because you put the fence up when?
It was shortly after they moved in. I mean, maybe a week or two after they moved in.
So it's astounding to me that it was that quickly that it rotted, which leads me to believe you used very inferior materials and probably not pressure treated if it was, if that happened. But at the end of the day, this is a discussion, okay? I am not a judge who believes that just, oh, you're the landlord, you have to pay. That's not how it works. There has to be some dereliction of a duty that you owe. And the only potential liability he would have is if this is a nuisance. A nuisance is something where you allow something to be on your property that interferes with the pleasure and enjoyment of somebody else's property. That is the essence of your argument. So the question is this something a landowner should know about, either through yourself, from knowing and seeing your property, or through your surrogate, Sam fellow. And after pondering this, I think it is. This wasn't as clear to me as a lot of other cases I've had like this. Because this isn't a situation where you keep telling him and he doesn't do anything about it. Those situations are really clear. This is something where you discover it, you tell him, and everything's hit the fan all at once. And there's no chance for anybody to try to remedy it. I'm also taking into account when I decide what I'm going to order him to pay you, the fact that you used the cheapest possible material that you could, or this wouldn't happen in 3.5 months. It wasn't
the cheapest, that's for sure.
Oh, it has to be the cheapest.
No.
You don't even know if it's pressure treated or not. How can you not know that you're putting something on the ground that's pressure treated?
No, I know what you're saying.
All right. I am ordering a judgment in your favor, but not in the amount that you're asking. I'm ordering a judgment in your favor in the amount of $500. Verdict for the plaintiff. Good luck, folks.
See what the defendant has to say about coming out on the losing end of this case. Well, he didn't collect everything he sued for, but he got you pretty good.
Well, I don't agree with it, but that's what the judge found. Mm-hmm. He got his 15 minutes of fame from Andy Warhol, and that's it. That's what he wanted.
Well, he also had a rotted fence. Come on.
He had a rotted fence. What? I know the law, the Massachusetts law. Mm-hmm. What duty do I have to him? And if I have a tenant, right, and the tenant goes out and robs somebody else, a house, am I just as guilty? I mean,
no, it's not the same thing.
Well, if it's on his, all right, it's on his property.
Don't bring up an analogy that makes no sense.
It does make sense.
No, that's not the same thing.
You don't feel it makes sense.
Neither does the judge. Right. Head right down that way. We're all wrong. Come on in here. So you didn't get everything you sued for either. You got a lousy fence anyway. What's it made of? Paper?
It's not a lousy fence, but it's still going to cost me $800 to get it fixed because that's what the guy, was going to charge me for it. So
it rotted pretty fast. What the
it did, but like I said, if they had the way the dirt was mounted up there, it was all packed against it and everything. So I mean, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. What was going on next door over there?
Well, they had a lot of people living there, and like you said, I don't believe that he visited that property because if he did, he would realize that at one point there was well over 15 people living there. 15 people? Absolutely, in a 3-bedroom house.
All right, Harvey.
Okay, Kurt, a landlord is responsible for keeping his property free of hazards and making sure those hazards don't damage neighboring property. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.